Hello, my name is Paul Ploner, and I'm the football analyst for 100 Yards of Football, one of their analysts, Sports Talk Radio, 100 Yards of Football, Sports Talk Radio on Facebook, and soon to have a very popular website. And I want to talk about the Georgia versus Auburn game last Saturday where the University of Georgia won 27-10. I know all the Bulldogs fans are happy about beating Auburn. That's always a highlight. You know, you want to beat Auburn every year and you want to beat Georgia Tech every year, and that game is going to be in 2 weeks. Normally we break down the games coming up for Georgia, but this week I'm not going to do that because they're playing this coming weekend. They're playing the University of Massachusetts, and that will be almost like a scrimmage. They won't even be close, and I don't want to waste a lot of time, and I'm sure you're not interested in hearing about that. But what I want to talk about and break down a little bit about this game, the Georgia versus Auburn game, something that's concerning. It started in the game, I believe it was not the Kentucky game, the Florida game, where Georgia was stymied on the goal line and was unable to score a touchdown when they were down like on the 2-yard line. And it happened again this week, not once, not twice, but 4 times Georgia was in the red zone. Matter of fact, like on the 5-yard line or the 2-yard line, and they're unable to score. And what happened when they were in the red zone, 2 field goals, 1 interception, and 1 failed fake field goal where the guy was open, the receiver was open, but the kicker, Blankenship, overthrew the pass. That was in the 4th quarter, and that's when the game was pretty much decided. It was already over. The score is 27-10. But what saved Georgia were 2 things that really saved Georgia this last Saturday. That was the Georgia defense, which was very stout and held Auburn to 10 points, and number 7, DeAndre Swift. And we'll talk about him a little bit later. But I'd have to say that the Georgia's got to figure out a way. Now, several I think 2 or 3 times they brought in Justin Fields, and he was very confused. I don't know what happened. Maybe that's part of the problem, was Justin Fields was unable to execute the game plan, but I really think it must be something to do with the play calling. And there's some plays, creative ways that they can learn how to score, but you got to learn how to score from the 2-yard line. When you get a pass interference call in the end zone and you don't score, there's a problem. And I think part of the problem is the offensive line. It may fix itself because a lot of them they're going to get a lot of rest. You're going to get 2 weeks of rest before the Georgia Tech game. Maybe they'll get it solved by then. But they're really going to have to solve that. And obviously in the Georgia Tech game, that's going to be a defensive issue. They're going to have to learn how to stop the run and do well. They did well against Kentucky, and I think if they can contain the running game against Georgia Tech, they're not going to have a problem. But what I'm concerned about with this red zone problem with Georgia is coming up in the SEC championship game against Alabama, which is awesome. Their defense is awesome. They have 2 shutouts in a row. You get down around the goal line, Alabama is going to be really awesome. So we've got to figure that out. We've got to figure out a way to score inside the 5-yard line. When Jake Fromm threw 2 touchdown passes, they were from about 20, 30 yards out, a little bit further out. But when you get in close, obviously you have less room for error. Margin of error, it's easy to cover the wide receivers when you're close into the end zone and you've got just a few yards to play with. But Fromm, maybe we need to keep Fromm in on those red zone opportunities because against Kentucky he found Isaac Nauta, the tight end, and he's really starting to like to throw to his tight ends. So I think we should look to maybe have Jake Fromm at least do half the downs in the red zone. If you need a quarterback run, obviously put Justin Fields in, but I think Jake Fromm, work with him and work with some plays in the red zone. I can think of some plays with tight ends, some passing and some trickery. I think, otherwise you're going to have some problems in the SEC championship game. So to get by Alabama, this is a problem that needs to be solved And that's something I need to point out to Georgia fans, and obviously they know what the problem is, and hopefully they'll work on it. But just I want to go over a couple things. I think another thing to talk about the game, I think we're going to show you, I know we're going to show you, is the DeAndre Swift TD run, 77 yards, touchdown run. He had an 83-yarder against Kentucky and a 77-yarder that basically put that game away. And we're going to show you that highlight, and probably showing it right now. Awesome highlight. DeAndre Swift is an amazing running back. And everybody knows now, it's out, that he was really hindered by a groin issue. And they admitted this week that actually DeAndre Swift went under surgery, groin surgery in the spring, where they literally had to go inside his abdomen and operate inside his abdomen. He really took him a while to get the full strength. But right now, the way he's cutting, the moves he's making, you can see in these highlights, he's just amazing. And he's all the hype and the promise that we had as last year as a freshman about him, it is coming to fruition, and he's really our secret weapon. And you're going to thank DeAndre Swift. Gets about a lot of credit, maybe carrying the team on his back Saturday, and to just basically obliterate the Auburn defense. 186 yards of rushing. Let's go over some stats for the Georgia offense and defense. 27 points scored by Georgia, 217 yards of passing, 309 yards rushing. Our leaders, Jake Fromm, 193 yards passing, 2 TDs and 1 interception. Running back number 7, DeAndre Swift, as I said, 186 yards rushing, 11 yards per carry. That's amazing, and 1 touchdown. And our second leading rusher was Holyfield, number 13, Elijah Holyfield, 93 yards of rushing, 6 yards per carry. And then a senior, number 5, wide receiver Terry Godwin, 3 receptions, 84 yards, and 1 touchdown. And of course, the defense held Auburn to 10 points, 172 yards of passing, and 102 yards of rushing, which is really kind of amazing. Obviously, you want to keep them under 100, but at 100 yards of rushing is manageable. And obviously, they only were able to score 10 points. And our defense just totally stymied the Auburn offense. So obviously, game ball to DeAndre Swift. Did a great job. Kudos to Jake Fromm, although, that interception looked bad. And but kudos to him for, he was on the winning side, and he did pretty well, as he always does. And then also the defense, got to give the whole defense a game ball, and DeAndre Swift and Jake Fromm definitely did well. So I'm looking forward in 2 weeks. We've got Georgia Tech. Georgia should win that game. Then in 3 weeks, the first Saturday in December, I think it's the 1st, we have the SEC championship game, and that's against Alabama. And we're going to do some videos as we get closer to that, a video or two, on how Georgia can beat Alabama. And I think the thing is that Georgia has, that's a big plus, is a successful rushing attack. They've got talented running backs, and to beat Alabama, you've got to establish a rushing game. So we'll get into that in a couple of weeks, and I thank you for watching today. And stay tuned and to our videos, and we'll get you some more great information. And thank you for watching today. If you like what we had to say, please comment. Please give us some feedback, and we look forward to more highlights from the UGA football season. And as always, go Dogs, sick 'em!